odd to where Neeb is... If Neeb is worried about something, it is about the early game. That's what I'm reading from these maps.
Most def. That cat, is it massive or is the couch a little bit small?
The one behind Nina?
Yeah.
I think her cat's actually really big, if I remember. I think she held it up to the camera for one of the videos, and it's just a really big cat.
Massive cat. All right, at the top right-hand side of the map, for Ting, it's Neeb.
And to the bottom left, going for that low ground expansion, she is Nina.
Very, very cool. We see a lot of Protoss players going for this type of build, in particular in maps with ramps such as Oxide. So do you think this is just Neeb being overly cautious here, not taking the low ground expand?
I am going to assume that Neeb really doesn't like playing the mind games of low ground expansions. That's a big assumption on my part, because I'm sure there's other reasons not to do this. Generally, it is seen that if you, unless you can really bother the low ground expand, which of course Neeb's going to try to do, on a low ground expansion map, and you don't, if you don't go for it, it seems pretty bad. But I think that the worst thing about these games, these maps, Oxide being the most well known for it, is the mind game portion. Do they actually take their Nexus? Do I block it for a long time? Do they block mine for a long time? Do I have to worry about that and then either build off of the fact that it's a pylon block and a 7x core block, or just a pylon block? If they go for a Stargate before their Nexus, do I think Phoenix, Void Ray, or Oracle? Because apparently all three are kind of valid. If I'm facing some trickier Protoss players, do they just attack me even though they also went for a low ground? Like, it's so much more to think about and play off of when you both do it. I feel like Neeb's just like, I'm not going to play that. Like, I'm just going to do my thing.
Yeah, Neeb and Nina both scouting around. Neeb with a probe, Nina with a Zealot. And Nina will drop that Nexus. Neeb has seen everything that has been going on. They delayed the Nexus for a little bit there. Chose not to block it, however. But Nina did make a Zealot for that purpose. So in a certain sense, things work out okay for Neeb. The Zealot of Nina hasn't accomplished much, and I don't expect that it will. But Nina also has a probe hiding in the natural base of Neeb, so she will be gaining the information of the timely Nexus.
Yeah, it's going to be a little bit late. Just going to get in and see the almost exact timing of it. Oh, well, she's a little out of range right now, but I think she already knows that something's up. So once she sees the Nexus is in fact down, she doesn't have to worry about a lot of gateway pressure, but she does need to worry about Stargate. Nina is adding on 3 gateways of her own. So one at the front to help the wall, fair enough, but then 2 more in the main.
Yeah, and there's not a shield battery here. This is actually already a little bit dangerous, as the Stalker of Nina is... Oh, whoa! But the Stalkers of Neeb are actually forced, and this Zealot ends up doing a lot more than I would have ever given it credit for, as it forces the recall in an otherwise very good position for Neeb forward. The Stalker of Nina was already pretty low. The shield battery was nowhere to be found, and the second Stalker would have popped up, but they would have been fighting at a disadvantage against the 2 Stalkers of Neeb. So that Zealot's huge.
I do think it is better for Neeb to just recall that. There wasn't much more to be done on the front lines since he wasn't reinforcing or having anything proxying, right? That just to make sure the Zealot didn't get anything very unnecessary. I mean, the fact that he got a scout, got the recall is pretty good for a Zealot, for sure, but nothing more. I will say that pulling back the Stalkers means that Nina is not going to be not paying attention to an Oracle, right? So that's the only other reason you would want Stalkers on the front line, is to be like, hey, look at me. But Nina also got 2 shield batteries. 1 at the front, yes, but 1 in the main specifically, against what she figured was going to be a Stargate opener.
I see. I thought those Stalkers could be really dangerous with the pylon they're being exposed and there not being a shield battery, right? Because it was 2 Stalkers versus 1, so what's there to protect the pylon then? Of course, the Zealot on the other side would have stood to do a lot more damage if the recall isn't the response from Neeb, so I completely agree the recall was the right thing to do. Now the Oracles are going for one of the Stalkers and will get a huge pickoff here.
Yeah, I just don't know if the pylon actually would have went down. I mean, it seems like a lot to hope for, even though it actually might have happened. Kind of like when a probe attacks a pylon for a long amount of time, and you're like, that probe will never kill it. And it actually does, and you're like, well, misjudged that one. But we're on to the next stage of PvP. The Oracles, I mean, they butted up. They're going to be able to kill a lot of probes. They haven't technically scouted what Nina's plan is. And I also have to say that I'm not sure what Nina's plan is. It feels like it was a plan based off of Neeb has not expanded, I need to defend. And now she's kind of figuring out her way beyond that, because there's really no reason in this game, as we know it with the God vision, to have gone for gateways, that many gateways first, and then a Twilight Council. Like 100%, if she knew that Neeb was going to expand with some light harassment right from the get-go, she would have got Twilight Council, then additional gateways. So I feel like she's in a much more awkward position, even though nothing truly terrible has happened. But, you know, Neeb now is faster to blink, much faster to +1. Okay, that's big. And faster to the third Nexus. So, yeah, the supplies don't tell the tale yet. Like, things are about to spiral out of control for Nina if she can't do damage.
Definitely, and it's going to be difficult seeing as Neeb is kind of just hitting upgrades as well. The blink is going to kick in faster, so I don't know that she has much of a win, though. She also had to take down one of her gateways, as we see on screen, so that's not going to help her case either. And yeah, I mean, what can she do at this point? She's just going to be trailing behind no matter what, it feels like.
Unfortunately, I think you're right. Even going for +1 attack, maybe she'll have an equal upgrade with Neeb, and maybe she can, you know, have like a couple more stalkers, just because if maybe she's warping in consistently and Neeb isn't. But I don't think a couple extra stalkers would really cut it, right? Now with shield battery and reinforcements and, you know, all that good stuff. So I think she just has to play from behind. And in that case, I think she has to try and get 2 disruptors, which, you know, to be fair, is maybe her ultimate goal in any game, because she does do well with them. But this would be more of like a Hail Mary disruptor thing.
Yeah, defensively, she will have the Immortals to anchor. So even though Neeb has a few more stalkers, 4 more stalkers actually here on the ground, he has less sentries to work with, and he has no Immortals. So he still has to be careful, especially if he's going to be spending his blink like that preemptively. But having blink available means that Neeb is going to have to make a mistake for Nina to really capitalize.
And there's that robotics bay. Again, maybe there's some method of attacking with slightly more units, or the Immortals, right? Maybe she uses sentries and slices and dices off some key units, but I mean, with blink, it's really hard to do. So trying to get into disruptors is the way to go. Neeb should be able to sniff this out, just kind of knowing the position of the game, but then also a consistent hallucination. It's going to be able to see the robotics bay. Now, that might mean that Neeb also decides to play the same game, because that's the way he thinks it'll work, but I think he also can just attack. Oh, he's going to go into Stargate. Oh, yeah, well, that... You know, we don't see the option that much more, even though it is one of the best options against disruptors. But if you already have a Stargate, if you scout this early enough and you know you're not going to die, like nothing else is happening in the game, then go for Phoenix. And the Phoenix are going to nullify all of Nina's chances with these disruptors.
Yeah, there is +1 air as well for Neeb, as he now starts the Phoenix production that you're alluding to. A blink forward from Nina, but a lot of those stalkers will get trapped, so could get punished for Neeb, who is preoccupied at this point just breaking or finishing breaking those rocks. Still should be able to get here in time to punish those stalkers, much more expensive than the Nexus, but of course the intent of Neeb was to get that Nexus situated a little bit earlier. Still a little bit annoying. Nina will have, of course, blink available, but Neeb is already looking to cut down anything, and I'm not sure, what did Nina just pick off? Was that an observer, or let me see.
I didn't see her pick up anything. I'm not sure.
Okay, she moved forward and shot at something. Yeah, maybe a probe.
Yeah, I guess it was the probe. All right, well, Nina's observer, I think, has told her that the army of Neeb is somewhere out in the map, so she's trying to set up a defense. Neeb does not have to do this, and you better be really careful about this. You know, but he does have stalkers with blink, so... The second disruptor is out. Phoenixes aren't on the front lines yet. All it takes is 2 Phoenix, which Neeb does have. He could push the issue, but with no warp prism, I think he really is just poking. Oh, he's going for a fleet beacon? Oh, I don't know. Huh. I actually thought that Neeb was just going to kill her with +2 and enough Phoenix to lift up all the disruptors, but fleet beacon, that signals a much longer game here.
Yeah, and I don't mind it from Neeb, right? He already has the 4th, so as long as Nina doesn't take her own 4th, he should be okay to kind of transition potentially into carriers, which is what I would assume we're going to see from him. Still has the option to kind of mitigate against any pushes from Nina with those Phoenixes, but maybe doesn't feel like he has to end the game right now. And it's actually not even going to be carriers, but what is that upgrade called, Zombie Grab? I don't even know it.
Graviton Catapult?
Graviton Catapult. I hate that name.
Am I right about that? It can make me second guess myself.
I don't know. Upgrade names are my biggest weakness, to be honest. That and flies.
No, that's the carrier one. I just
That
made.
was the carrier one. Even.
Yeah, wait, hold on. Anion pulse crystals.
There it is. One of the worst names for an upgrade. Anion pulse crystal.
Like something sounded off.
Yeah.
But now that Anion pulse crystals really I don't know. Like, I don't know Protoss technology. I don't know how it makes sense of that one.
I hate Protoss technology. Oh, here's a big blink, however. And a Neeb, for his troubles, will find 3 or 4 stalkers. There, Nina will try to punish the non-Anion Pulse crystalled Phoenixes as they finish their Anion Pulse crystals.
Just in case, another game happens where we see this upgrade and we have to remember what it is.
I just have to practice that upgrade until it gets ingrained. I don't think that it ever will, though. It hasn't happened in 10 years. It won't happen now.
I don't know about that one. It is funny. It was one of the first upgrades added to the game, actually. This was not a part of Wings of Liberty when it first was released. All right, so this is definitely not the way I thought this game was going to go. I feel like Nina has actually dodged out of a lot of kill moves that Neeb could have forced, but Neeb has played the safer path, and that means that Nina has also gotten a max, which I just didn't think was going to be possible. That means that she has more than just disruptors to work off of. She now has Colossus, which they do exist in PvP, guys. You can actually make them. They're just pretty rare. And the Colossus do add a lot of damage, just in general, all the splash that they have, and they do help take out the Zealots in the same way that an Archon, usually would, but she doesn't have that many of. And they don't die that quickly to Phoenix usually. These Phoenix do have +1. And
there's a lot of them. Yeah,
there's a lot of them. So
yeah.
That is maybe a complication, but then the Phoenix, I think, has to pick and choose. Lift disruptors, kill Colossus. Can you do both?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I
maybe
think in the
with
fight,
14.
No. Yeah, and the fight is very difficult, I think, to die for those Colossus, as you're saying. Outside, however, if you do focus one single Colossus without help, it's going to be easy pickings for any number or any great number of air attacking units. In this case, the Phoenixes will do the job, and they are searching. Neeb is searching with his army for the next base of Nina and continuing to try to deny it. This might be the opportunity, however, for Nina to try to take an engagement and punish Neeb here, because she can't really afford not to take bases forever. So huge disruptor shot goes off. The Phoenix are trying to do their job, but still one disruptor shot did go off. The blink is there for Neeb to try to retreat, but Nina with decent trades, not good enough, I think, to justify the loss of the base, though.
Well, the loss of the base? She didn't actually lose it.
Oh! Well, that's great.
Yeah, I think it's all right. It's actually a much better fight than maybe even Nina was expecting. Neeb might be in over his head a little bit, as that last disruptor shot just took down a ton of stalkers. Fortunately, this is a very good defensive setup for Neeb with the shield battery overcharge, so he might be able to do it here. Takes out the Colossus. Disruptor is still without any ammo. They're about to have another shot soon, I would expect, but there's still Phoenix in the air. So it actually isn't even about that. It's just about stalker to stalker. Phoenixes are eventually going to add in their help to the stalkers as well. And Neeb is going to hold with a 30, 40, 50 supply lead. I mean, I really don't blame Nina for that counterattack, though.
It looked great. It looked great to start. Even gets the first disruptor shot off. That shield battery overcharge and just the defensive capabilities of the Phoenixes. They have all put their weight in gold, as none of them have energy remaining by the end of that. And Neeb will take game number 1.
Not exactly the way I thought that was going to plan out, and I do think that even Neeb might have miscalculated a little bit. His engagement around that 4th base was not nearly as good as you would expect for taking it so confidently, and it could have been a lot worse, too. One of the things, like, the disruptors were going off, a couple of them did hit Neeb, but my all was actually because of the Archons of Nina. Like, the Phoenixes were all bulking together, but they were still just barely out of range getting hit by the Archons. It's like, what if the Archons actually both got an attack on a Phoenix flower? Then that would have really changed a lot of things. It doesn't take much to kill those guys. But no, it worked out in favor of Neeb, which is kind of what the expected outcome was, but the game was a little bit wild.
For sure. And when that fight starts, I really don't know. I really thought that Nina was going to have it just because she was confident enough to move on forward, and then the first disruptor shot was huge. But I mean, Neeb with a strong concave and just defensive position with the shield batteries aiding him. Manages to stabilize. And the Phoenix, they all have so low energy, right? Like, they all really did as much as they possibly could have. So Neeb holds, and our underdog goes down 8 games.
Yeah, wonder what Nina feels about that game, though. Just like, does she look at it as, oh, wow, I actually almost made that work? Or does she say, okay, I was behind the entire time. That's a game that was lost at minute 7 or something like that. Maybe even before, because honestly, I think she did expect an attack, and that's why her build order was a bit weird. And so she can forget about it and move on? Or did that really sting? Did she really think that she had a good shot at winning the game once she got maxed out? And it really stings that she, over-dedicated to a shield battery overcharge or just barely couldn't do it. I'm not sure. That's a hard game to read.
It really is. It really is. I mean, she was so slow to her 4th base, right? And that is to the credit of Neeb, of course, delaying it and denying, or just delaying it, actually, did not deny it. But it was, I mean, Neeb with a better economy, more reinforcements, more capabilities, the longer the engagement went. So I don't know how Nina should feel about that one. I think that she gave herself a shot in spite of being behind and in spite of knowing that her position had to be kind of just terrible in terms of economy. And she was lagging behind in upgrades. I'm not sure if she caught up in that game as well, but yeah, so that's good. I mean, it was a good game, right? Like, it was a good game, but yeah, expect the result.
Yeah. It is a good game, but again, so hard to really tell where the players both thought they were at, because it was a good game that, there was potential for both sides technically, but then again, it was also, to my eyes, a game that Neeb was supposed to win from minute 5. So it's like, does that give you more confidence or less confidence? I have no idea. Nina could easily look at that and be like, wow, I didn't just get my head cut off. I actually got the disruptors. This I feel I have more of a chance in this game, but or in the series rather. But I don't know. It's ultimately a game down, right? That's the most important thing. Nina is already running out of lives. This is the lower bracket run, guys. But it's definitely not over yet. Bottom left of Jagannatha playing for Psystorm. She is Nina.
And in the top right, representing Ting, it's Neeb. Also worth noting, and on the flip side, right? Like, if you're feeling from the side of Nina, like, yeah, I had a pretty decent shot, like, those fights were pretty close, actually, etc., etc. From the side of Neeb, those fights, did they need to be that close? Because we saw a couple of really juicy disruptor shots, and with that many Phoenix up in the air, you have to imagine the first disruptor shots to go off maybe shouldn't go off at all to start, right?
Yeah. I think you could absolutely argue that. I think Neeb could absolutely be arguing that with himself right now. Like, I can't believe I didn't lift up all those disruptors.
Yeah.
How did I almost let that game go? Because with that many Phoenix is really the key point. With that many, you should be able to lift, because you can dive with that many. Over Archons, it is a bit riskier, for sure. But,
True.
Yeah. I do think another thing worth pointing out as we kind of try to guess where Nina's head is at, that last game, even though I don't think Oxide is nearly as weird and bamboozly as Blackburn, just the way the maps are designed, it was a low ground expansion map that, we're not going to have again, I don't think, from these two players. If it was Max Packs, we definitely see it again. But from these two, I don't think so. And in that way, Nina might already have a more comfortable start. She did react rather strongly to something I don't think was warranted being that strong of a reaction. So she doesn't have to worry about something like that happening. In the same capacity, of course, PvP is a very mental game. There's a lot of things to consider and a lot of things to trick your opponent with.
Yeah, for sure. And oddly enough, it was Nina going for that low ground expand. So from a different perspective, you could say she doesn't have the ability to do that anymore, because Neeb seems comfortable with this 2-gate opening. We've seen now twice in a row from him. So what else can Nina do to mix it up? I think we both think that she is the one that has to bring some tricks here, right?
Yes, I definitely think so. Thing is, I think her best chance in a PvP against Neeb is to not try and win right off the bat with, like a proxy robo or hidden 4 gates, or, even a Dark Shrine. I would not say, like, a really quick 1-2 base Dark Shrine. I think that's too much. I don't think she has to win the game right off the bat. I do think she needs to give herself an advantage. So that could include, making the 8 Adept starts can be really tricky for some players to handle. That could include a proxy pylon for Stalker Warpins off of 2 gateways. This could include delayed Forge, Warpin, again, proxy pylon. so that you have just that many more stalkers, just enough to control the scenario, I think that's where she'll thrive. But if she tries to basically, I don't know, play like a Suna and just win off the wackiest, craziest, most dedicated things, I don't think that'll work.
Yeah, I agree. A, Neeb is very good against that. B, Nina is not very well practiced with that, right? So I am with you. I think she has to win with the mind games. She has to win with something like cutting corners over and over again and playing off of advantages that she carves for herself, while Neeb is likely to be the more solid player and the player that expects that he can take some disadvantages and still win the game. So Nina has to take advantage of all of those little things and see if they amount to a victory. So let's see if she's able to do that already. I mean, a lot of sentries to start in this game, right? That's kind of risky, but Neeb also has 3 sentries.
Yeah, they both did it. I think slightly different orders of things, but the real downside for Nina's opener is that she made 2 extra units faster. So that's why her Forge and Twilight Council are a lot later. So already, like, I think you're right. You know, also cutting corners, trying to play really greedy is another thing that she could do. Already lost out on that a little bit. I don't know if this blink timing is going to be so critical. And in fact, I think in this game, with how much they're scouting, it is going to be just a quick expansion. Maybe even off of 2 gateways for both of them.
Yeah, both players very similar timing, very similar approaches, +1/+1 and blink. On either side, supply is almost identical. Nina is lagging 1 worker behind, but now equalizes. So, I mean, pretty much the same build orders from the look of things, but Neeb is going to be a little bit quicker. Or Nina actually is going to be a little... No, both. No, Neeb is going to be a little bit... Oh.
Yeah, just little advantages are really starting to add up. It also means that Neeb is kind of dictating the pace so that when he scouts, he says, oh, you're doing the same thing, but I'm doing it better. Fantastic. As far as how this could change up from here on out, you know, a lot of the time, both straight up players, we do see an attempt to bother the third base. Neither one of them are really doing that. Neeb is going for a blink into the main, actually, which with 4 stalkers could start shooting down probes. Neat little trick here, and could even recall out if he doesn't want to escape. Yeah, he's going to try and escape with blink.
4 shields. Yeah, 4 shields are going to prevent 2 of the stalkers, and they will have to be recalled out. So blinks to the side, very cute moves, but it will still cost them 1 stalker. For 3 probes, a worthwhile trade. Obviously, if you factor in the recall, a little bit less worth, but still accruing small advantages, I think, is Neeb.
I'd say so, yeah. Now it's back to what could be different. Again, Nina could go into disruptors, but especially in a very even game where Neeb's almost assuredly, going to go into charge. That is playing with fire, because Jagannath also isn't the most defensive map that we have. That is still Romanicide. Other things that could change... I don't think there's very much else that can change, honestly. It's going to come down to positioning when both of them have +2. Because +2 timing is still very big in PvP, even though the compositions have changed a little bit. Actually, Neeb. Going for 9 gateways. Maybe just a +1.
Whoa.
Oh, armor. Interesting.
Okay. So, and with the Templar Archives, are we seeing some Charge Lord Archon type composition here?
Oh, yeah, for sure. He actually might just stop building stalkers and just go for a ton of them, which is not going to be too great for Nina's immortal production. I don't think she's going to get that many, but you know, the more charge lots you're facing, the more nullified the immortal is. I'm so interested in this armor. I mean, it is less expensive than going into the +2, but you still get something from it as you go for the attack. You still have maybe a bit of your sights on the later game. Ooh. But it is a lot about this attack right here, right now. A second Hallucinated Phoenix does scout. Oh, an Observer was there as well, so there you go. So Nina knows that she's about to be under a lot of pressure. I just don't know if she's actually capable of handling it.
Yeah, she just dropped an additional 2 gases. I mean, that's money that she doesn't have. That could have been like an additional, perhaps 2 batteries instead. So this is a little bit concerning for Nina. These pylons are going to help a little bit with the charge potentially, as the Zealots might get a little bit bamboozled. No. And yeah, a lot of those Zealots actually bamboozle onto the pylon of the north, but now it will get taken down. Neeb does have a lot, but the Immortals do provide a lot of consistent damage output for Nina. These Force Shields are going to be very, very strong against the Zealots, but with the battery overcharge, Neeb will just have to wait it out to re-engage.
He actually canceled +1 armor. It was a fake. It was just for Hallucinated Phoenix.
Wow.
That's actually really cool. I mean, it still sucks, though. Neeb did not get the total surprise that he was hoping for because the second Hallucinated Phoenix still saw him, but he still hit long before Nina's charge was ready, so she's been kind of underprepared for a long time. Now, this is a little bit awkward. A lot of Neeb's Zealots went to the third base to go kill probes, which might still net him the victory, but oh yeah, okay, there's more charge lots. Never mind. I thought Neeb might be a little too shy in the charge lot numbers, but with more on the way, Neeb takes down 14 probes and takes down the army and takes the game.
It is. I am completely with you because it's usually not the recommended approach to kind of split your army, right? Like you usually wanna kind of go heavy on one win condition. So Neeb is kind of spreading himself thin in the way that if those zealots are with his army, he'll only crush the army of Nina harder than he already did, right? So why not just do that instead of being like, in the worst case scenario, I'll lose my army, but I'll do some economic damage. Like that's kind of okay, but I think if he just goes with everything on one side, that would have been even more decisive. Regardless, we have Neeb with not even his entire army able to close it out, and yeah, amazing gameplay otherwise.
I mean, one of the biggest things is that Nina did find herself just a little bit behind in every situation for most of that game. But even with that, it seems like a very hard build to actually hold against. I think you have to buy enough time to get to at least 2 Archons, but preferably 4. So the fact that her Templar Archives wasn't nearly as fast was a problem. And I do think you absolutely have to have a shield battery, or maybe a couple, right? But she had one over her third base, but was there one in the natural? Maybe there was, but that still meant like still a split army situation. Hey, it's a lot of units that come at you. It's mostly charge lots, so Archons, I guess, gotta guess, is going to be absolutely critical. But, I mean, can you get to that many Archons that quickly when you're already slightly behind in the game? It's tough.
Very tough indeed. And yeah, Nina did overcharge the battery at the natural. That was her hold initially, but Neeb just kind of retreated from that, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, so it's a really tough situation for her, for sure. But I do think maybe canceling even one of the upgrades. She was getting +2 attack at the same time. She dropped 2 gases, which, I mean, you know, like, it should be the last thing on your mind. The last thing on queue should be, everything should be about surviving right here, right now, right? Like, that could be an extra cannon, that could be more batteries, potentially more units if you have the capabilities to produce that. So still, everything that led up until that point was Neeb just kind of running away with the early game in terms of momentum and in terms of getting those small advantages that we were discussing earlier. So it was always going to be difficult to stop, even if she had canceled the upgrades and not made the gases, and, you know.
Exactly. I think she might have had to have also done a bit more threatening with her stalkers, but that's always very difficult because if they actually have as many stalkers as you, then or more, you know, then you're just going to be pushed back. And then maybe you can even try like sharking around for the War Prism as a Hail Mary, right? But
yeah,
she was already pinned back. You know, she did ultimately scout the attack pretty late, even though it wasn't as late as maybe Neeb was hoping for. So that already put her in a bad position as well. It's already a tough series for Nina on her last life. Spawning in the top left of her mana side now, it is Nina.
And for Ting, the only thing that's not blue about this man is his coloring game. As he is red in the bottom right-hand side, it is the North American champion, Neeb.
Got real gamer vibes on his webcam.
Real gamer vibes. I'm not sure that he would be the poster boy for gamers with that one picture. At least gotta put some light on the Archon, right, on the back. His Archon poster is pretty cool.
I would, yeah, I think that's good. You know, apparently, and I've had this issue back when I used a webcam before. You know, sometimes they do have decent lighting, but the webcam just isn't picking it up for whatever reason. But, because I think Scarlett was talking about this. Yeah. But I will say, just a little PSA, guys. You should don't only have your monitor as your light. Okay, it's probably not very good for your eyes.
Yeah, probably not.
Ooh.
Big snipe.
Yeah, that's actually a lot to work with now. Neeb's not going to send a second probe to go scouting, but Nina had not pulled any probe to go for a pylon. So I don't think she's going to, she's not going to hide a pylon anywhere. Oh well.
Yeah. I do wonder about Neeb's camera though. Like, why is it blue? Like, out of all colors, I've never seen another webcam be blue. Is it maybe the... Yeah?
It is the reflection, right? Or like not reflection, but just the amount of blue that's on the camera is going to make the lighting look a little bluish too, right?
That must be it. Maybe there's some Logitech cameras that have like a little bit of a blue tint on the side or something. Or do you think it's the monitor's blue? I'm not sure.
I think the monitor blue light and the t-shirt blue, and maybe his wall is blue.
The t-shirt as well, yeah. No, I think the wall is mostly clear, like white maybe.
I don't know.
Very in any case, we have a Stargate going up for Neeb, double depth opening as well to be consistent with the gas usage, whereas Nina is getting a double sentry opening. So how do you feel about this, Zombie Grub? Do you feel like the sentries are the way to go against the Stargate, or?
Well, I mean, not exactly. I think it is very greedy of Nina, who I guess is expecting Neeb to play Stalker Sentries or Sentry as well. It's going to be awkward. It's 2 Adepts and an Oracle can definitely kill Sentries, especially since Nina's not putting down a really cautious shield battery. So I mean, I guess I'd be a little worried depending on how the setup is. So Nina now knows that there's 2 Adepts that she has to worry about. Doesn't know anything beyond that, though. Yes, unless, until she gets a hallucination out and about.
Yeah, at least the follow-up for Nina is going to be 2 Stalkers, so she should be potentially... Oh, a nice force field actually as well. Will trap both of the Adepts for the time being. The Adepts don't know what to do. They're going to go after some sentries, but I mean, those are going to be replenished as well if I guess the shield battery shouldn't finish. But now the Oracle is going to have his hands full, or her hands full, as there really is, a lot of firepower on the side of Nina, and the Adepts didn't do anything.
That's like when you trap a cat or something. Like
I've never trapped
you like lure it in, and then you set the trap, and they just freak out, man. But it's funny because they definitely could have shaded faster, and that bypasses force fields. Speaking of shades, it actually gets into the main base, looking to distract any of the Stalker shots. But I think it distracted 1. The Oracle only grabs 2 probes before the shield battery's done.
Yeah, all in all, a pretty good start for Nina. Nina was greedy enough to start with 2 sentries as well. So she will get the benefit of having done that, as her Phoenix is now for some reason returning from its expedition on the other side of the map. Now Neeb is gonna try with the next 2 Adepts, but Nina, if she can sneak on through, and she is looking to do that, that could be really dangerous for Neeb. He doesn't even have a probe in the choke, right? Like there's no possibility here for Neeb to drop an easy shield battery. So Nina could be looking at a very, very strong start here with these Adepts.
Well, okay, so Neeb goes for the guaranteed kills with the Oracle combination and the natural. The Adepts could have gotten into the main as well, but 10 probes going down in the blink of an eye. Obviously quite worth it. Make that 11 at the end. The Adepts of Nina do also get into the main base, but there's a lot more Sim City that's actually helping Neeb maybe to react. I don't think he's realized it, though. He's still controlling his units on the other side of the map, so very late reaction. Even with the help of the Sim City, some revenge is going to be had for Nina. Probably not as much, but I mean, it's pretty close. Actually, it might be more. Oh
it might be more. It's gonna be more. At least the same if we can find one more probe. Okay, it's gonna be a little bit less, but still, I mean, just for 2 Adepts, right? Like 2 random ass Adepts that she made out of nowhere after opening with sentries and stalkers. Big props to Nina for having the presence of mind to do that and to sneak them through the side of the map as well.
Yeah, and it looks like Neeb, I don't know if he was cutting probes at a certain point or what, but down 5, even though he actually lost 1 less, so down 6 actually. They have combination of already being saturated, not already building them, or something along those lines. He is going to rebuild to full saturation, but we saw that proxy gateway. Neeb is looking for an attack. So it's going to be 4 gateways to 3. Nina did bother to add on a 3rd gateway, and a 4th is on the way too. So it's not going to be a humongous amount more production than Neeb, but I think just the fact that Neeb will be warping in, that's what's going to surprise Nina. And with no shield battery or units in position around her 3rd, pretty sure Neeb's going to get the quick cancel, and we'll see what more he can get from this.
Yeah, just now dropping his 3rd gas as well. So up until this point, Neeb has been investing a lot, very heavily into this attack. We'll see if the Oracles find more damage in the main at the same time as the Stalkers are potentially forced onto this low ground. Now the Adepts the Oracles don't have to move in unless the Stalkers are showing here.
Oh no. Oh, that was a very aggressive blink, but it might just be warranted. Oh, a couple of the oracles flying in, but maybe realizing they're not going to be that helpful, as it looks like the stalker counts have evened out here, actually in favor of Nina just by 1. That might have been overzealous then. I mean, I can see what he was thinking, and he does grab the sentries, but Neeb doesn't get the 3rd Nexus. I thought that was the freebie.
Yeah, it was the freebie, right? Unless he went for that very aggressive blink forward. Might he still get it? Not likely, as Nina is going to blink forward to protect her Nexus. Now kind of forgoing that position. We'll lose 2 probes in the process. Does Nina still have enough here? Not all of her stalkers are firing at once, whereas Neeb has the better concave. Not something that you usually worry too much when it comes to blink versus blink, but Neeb with the confidence, with unshakable confidence seemingly, in spite of having similar or lower numbers.
Yeah, it was really close to call, especially because Nina used her blink to jump on the army. She couldn't use it reflexively, right? So that was another reason why Neeb probably thought he could actually take the engagement. It did end up being pretty close, but now Nina definitely has the stalker lead, and she kept her 3rd alive. This is a big issue for Neeb.
Yeah, one of the oracles full as well, and now trying to go into the natural base, as there is a cannon situated in the main base of Nina to accompany her battery. So only 1 extra probe found from this oracle. Neeb is going to be dropping his own 3rd, but he's trailing far behind on that.
Not really far behind. Nexus will finish up eventually, and they'll both get saturated probably on 3 bases, but there's not a lot that Neeb can do to make up for this upgrade. Now, funnily enough, I thought this would be the map where the reverse situation would happen, where Nina is the one behind, and then it has the comfortable Romanicide defense to get to disruptors. It's actually Neeb in this game who probably has to dive towards disruptors on a map that's best defensively used. Like he could survive to disruptors on this map. So that's a role reversal I was not expecting, which now opens up everything for Nina. She could go into her own disruptors and play that game if she thinks that that's still where she has her best chance, or she could actually try to cut Neeb down with a massive gateway push with +2.
Yeah, or just be out on the map, get map control, and just get her economy large. And then look to flood Neeb later in the game, prevent a 4th from him, choke him out. That's another approach that Nina could also take, as she is free to be out on the map with these Blink Stalkers. She's also working on her +2 as Neeb starts his +1. So things are looking incredibly good in this game for Nina. Most of everything except, there's not a massive supply gap, but for the most part, that doesn't matter at all. I mean, there isn't a supply gap as we speak, but everything else is going Nina's way.
And she's had the economic lead for most of this game, so it's all being put into the upgrades and the charge +2 into a faster Nexus. And, eventually is going to help her with a bigger army, more production, especially as her 4th Nexus is going to finish with no problem. Neeb is going to play the defensive game. There's the disruptors. There's really no other choice for him. So he's going to wall off the natural and 3rd to an extent. I actually really like that. And then only have to worry about the left side, and is going to mine out the minerals so that it's still only one side of the map that he has to worry about. Because even on Romanicide, the worst thing about transitioning into disruptors when you're behind especially is that you can get overwhelmed. If they split their army, if they get a concave, if they're in one location one time, then the next one before you know it, yeah, you're gonna have a lot of trouble. But if you can only defend one location at a time, that makes it a lot easier.
Yeah, and both players being very consistent with where they're choosing to expand as well, right? Like the expansion of Nina says, I have the most units. I can definitely take advantage of the surface area, of the openness of this expansion, whereas Neeb says, I do not want anything to do with openness right now. I have disruptors, chokes are good for me, ramps are good for me, and so he takes this forward chokier, rampier type base with the rich Vespene Geyser as well, another catch-up mechanic potentially for him.
True, that's a good point. Nina is going to dedicate to +3. I mean, I think she's going to attack and get +3, but I think really it's about breaking Neeb before Neeb gets too many disruptors. And if you don't, if Neeb gets to 6 or 8 disruptors and Nina isn't on her own disruptor game, then that's where it suddenly becomes problematic for Nina. But right now, oh my goodness, that was a very aggressive blink forward, which means the disruptors almost were capable of getting a shot, but a quick pullback, actually the shield battery is kind of hurting Neeb's chances to get that shot delivered. So they had to go around it, unfortunately. But that is a 4th Nexus actually held, and a 2nd Disruptor hopefully waiting with a shot. More Disruptors are on the way. The Nexus is going to fall. That just had to be given up. Unfortunately, the overcharge late to the party.
Yeah, I like that a lot better. That blink forward was so scary from Nina, right? She could have just taken the Nexus down as she did here on the next attack. But yeah, I mean, that's going to just set Neeb so far behind in terms of economy. Nina could take a 5th right now. She can just get maxed out. and then look for better ways to trade. Obviously, there's not something like a Nidus for Protoss, but there are War Prisms and the likes. She can also just get a lot of production kind of set up for a continued or an elongated engagement. This unit's being trapped. Things could get dangerous.
Yeah, I really like the way that Neeb's trying to play this out. I mean, the gateways have done their job. The Zealots are going to have to crash through them before they actually get into the natural. Oh, blinking aggressively forward. Going to take out an Archon by the looks of things. And then the Stasis Traps. Stasis Traps were awesome. One was pretty effective, especially in at least warning Neeb that something is up, because he can't really spend too much time getting more than one observer. He needs to be building as many disruptors as possible. Takes down the Zealots. They finally break through the wall. It's probably going to replace it. There he goes. And then still only have the left side to deal with. And the disruptor count, it's getting to a point where you can even split them. I mean, I don't think he's going to do it yet, but the 4th Nexus, again, going to have to be canceled. It is canceled this time around. But I think the next time he tries to go for a Nexus, it's going to finish.
Yeah, I think so as well. So Nina really now is taking a 5th base. So I feel like that maybe could have been a little bit sooner. She does have 75 workers to 63, so even trades are going to be good for her, but she's going to start trading ineffectively now against these disruptors by the looks of it, as some of the stalkers also walk into them. And Neeb, I think he feels like the momentum is starting to sway in his favor, especially as far as army is concerned. Nearly 30 army supply ahead of Nina will push into a very annoying position to threaten her 4th.
Absolutely. I mean, he had such an advantage. Like, he was able to pounce on the advantage. He knew that her disruptors at least weren't on the front lines. I mean, maybe it was a bit of a gamble because she did have 2 pop kind of as the engagement was happening, but he figured that was the case, pushes forward, jumps on top of her still inferior army because she hadn't actually dedicated to more reinforcements or disruptors yet. And now has taken a really big lead. You know, like, he's missing out on the +3 upgrade, but it doesn't really matter as we head into Disruptor Wars. Nina does have more disruptors now, however. Oh, and there you go. Making an even bigger lead as she gets the first shot there. Bit of a trade, but still, she's not just getting a lead in disruptors. She's actually opened up a pathway into this Nexus, something that Neeb does eventually need to get, but things are getting really awkward here. A last-second split to try and stop the disruptors from killing all of Neeb's army, but it is chaos every which way that we look, and unfortunately, the chaos is not favoring Nina this time around.
Unfortunately not. I did like the move there to carve her way with the disruptors. Unfortunately for her, I mean, Neeb with those last second splits, people tend to say Protoss micro lul. Lul at that, chat. That was beautiful.
Really, at least minimizing the impact of Nina's disruptors. Unfortunately, that was probably another promising start to, it feels weird to say, but a comeback maneuver from Nina, and it just got slapped down. Nina still has the comfort of knowing that she's got 4 bases the entire time, and she is trying to reestablish her 5th, but she has fallen behind in a lot of other ways. Army supply, disruptors, it is all about the disruptors, I guess. It's if she can get the shots and Neeb can't, then all's fair. But Neeb is even finding himself in a position where now he could go for multiple run buys, multiple engagements, and that's exactly what he's doing.
19 workers have fallen.
The
Nexus.
Oh my God.
To follow those, that is an aggressive blink from Neeb, but maybe feeling like he can create and thrive in chaos himself, as the DTs are doing a lot of damage on the other side. And with this shield battery, actually will manage to keep the Nexus and replenish the Nexus's shields to where it may not end up falling. Neeb will have to be forced to use the blink of the DTs defensively. Still a very successful minute for the All-American Protoss.
Very successful. Well, Neeb's American too, but
for the Texan.
Yeah, obviously. Nina at this point has just lost the game. If she had 8 disruptors, I actually would be on the hype train, you know, for the comebacks that we know she can make. But even losing her last few disruptors, she only had 2. Now she's at 0. GG. Neeb takes the 3